I'm Darrell Watkins, and let's queer up faith. Investigative report details psychological impact of Guy Hammond's ministry. An investigative report by Uncloseted Media exposes Strength in Weakness Ministries, an international organization founded by Minister Guy Hammond that promotes soft conversion therapy under the guise of compassionate pastoral care. Marketed heavily within Christian communities, the ministry encourages individuals experiencing same-sex attraction to suppress their identity, embrace lifelong celibacy, or pursue opposite-sex marriages. Unlike older conversion therapy groups that promise to fully change a person's sexual orientation, Hammond's program acknowledges that attractions may persist, but insists that acting on them is spiritually unacceptable. This subtle framing has allowed the organization to bypass ban policies and gain access to churches, schools, and religious institutions worldwide. Through survivor accounts, the investigation reveals the severe psychological toll inflicted on participants. Former members detail an environment dominated by intense spiritual guilt, shame, and continuous self-policing. Mental health experts featured in the report emphasized that forced suppression of identity frequently leads to deep-seated trauma, severe anxiety, depression, and elevated risk of suicidal ideation. Despite widespread medical consensus condemning sexual orientation change efforts, Strength in Weakness continues to grow its international reach. By positioning its practices as loving guidance rather than explicit therapy, the organization insulates itself from legal accountability while continuing to inflict lasting psychological damage on vulnerable individuals within faith spaces. I'm going to behave. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to be kind and professional and grown up.
I might not be.
And grown up and all of those kinds of things. At least I'm going to make an effort. But this is so antithetical to spiritual wholeness, to spiritual health, because the point of spirituality is authenticity. If your spiritual basis is to lie, to hide, to be ashamed of who you are, to deny who you are, okay, I know you still like, you're primarily attracted to your own sex, but try to marry the other one anyway, because that's fair to her or him. That's good for everybody, right? No. Or, yeah, we know you're still attracted, but just be lonely. Just be celibate and lonely, because, that's good for you. But that's love. That's not love. If you love me for who I am. You love me for all of me and not for someone who's willing to try to fit into your shoe size or whatever. So no, this is just one more way of abuse. It's a toxic definition of love. It is a toxic definition of spirituality. Queer people are here. There is part of everything as trees, flowers, birds, bees, straight people, bi people, people of every color. Queer people are here. And if you want to save queers, save them from bigotry, save them from prejudice, save them from discrimination so that they can live in authenticity and in wholeness. That's how you save a queer, by blessing their queerness.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's disgusting. It's a disgusting story to me. What conversion therapy does to people is horrendous. The trauma, I mean, most LGBT people that are much older live with a certain degree, all LGBT people live with a certain degree of trauma, but to compound that, and, I agree, to force someone to hide who they are, I'm reminded of, the guy in World War II who was the code breaker, Alan Turing, who pretty much won the war, and he was chemically castrated and ended up killing himself. Sure. So you can't tell people to not be who they are and have it not seriously traumatized them.
Mendacity and shame are not building blocks of spirituality.
I don't see this necessarily as conversion therapy, although I do think that this is insidious. I see this more as some kind of a behavioral or thought system modification, because I think the proposition is you don't have to change who you inherently are. I think this is the proposition that they're getting at. You can still have these attractions. If they go away, great. And I use all of these in quotation marks. If they go away, great. just don't act on them. So they're not asking you in this organization to not be who you think you are. They're asking you to set that aside and take up the cross or whatever your burden is and whatever you have been given as whatever cross it is that you must bear. And if that means being celibate and not sinning, because to them gay sex and gay relationships are sinful, it means that God has given you some kind of a mission to be holy. And to be holy to them would be to not act upon this thing in your nature that calls you to be unholy. So it's very nefarious, because it's something, as you said, Bishop, you know, it's the birds and the bees, it's the flowers, it's the tree. Oh, that rhyme. Birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. You know, it's in it's in nature. It's everywhere. So to tell somebody not to love the way that they have the proclivity to love, and to say God wants it that way, it's really messing with people's psyches.
Yes. Of course,
and
yeah,
it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody should unalive themselves, but I don't blame people for having suicidal ideation when you get yourself put in a corner, you know, pushed into a corner with this organization that tells you, yeah, continue having those ideas and those, you know, psychological circumstances inside of you. You just can't act on them because God, the baby Jesus cries every time you do.
But I hate that they resort to that, but I also hate that people believe that.
Yeah.
Like, we can show you the scientific studies. We can show you the people who are living their lives and happy about it. We can show you people who've been in relationships for hundreds of years.
Right.
We can show you all these things. You can't show me God. And yet this person that you can't show me, you've never met anyone who met, but you know what that God wants, and it's for me to be unhappy. See, who's buying this story?
Exactly.
Who is buying this story?
And
now,
it's traumatizing.
And, you know,
it's horribly traumatizing.
Check out my drag. I'm all into the religion business, but religion shouldn't be hateful. It shouldn't be making you hate yourself. It shouldn't be against love and mutuality and relationship and community and fun. This is what a fundamentalist is. It's someone who's desperately afraid that somebody somewhere is having a good time. We don't need to be fundamentalists to be spiritual or religious or in community. So yeah, I just hate that they sell it, but I hate more that people buy it.
And
I agree. And I, as a non-religious person who's spiritual, I do love to practice and study the Buddhist and Hindu teachings. I do believe that religion should be separate from government and it shouldn't be in schools. But though I do believe in the freedom of religion, I understand the importance that it has in people's lives, but I also understand the harm and the negative effect that it has in people's lives. If we're not able to pass laws banning conversion therapy, what are things that we can do to hold the church accountable or hold any religion accountable and prevent these things from happening? Like, how would we address the root and the cause of it?
Well, I mean, I think we need to change hearts and minds somehow. Somehow change hearts and minds.
We say every Sunday at Sunshine Cathedral, and also every day on the Queer God Squad, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Right.
That's the message.
And that's the message to all these kids who are having to go through this. Well, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.